So let me walk you through some of the columns that are on this tab. So the purchase date is when you actually made the purchase, and you can copy and paste that down for all the rows that it's applicable, but you want a date in every single cell. So today is the 24th, so I'm going to put in the 24th of 2019. The receipt number, that's something that I like to use to keep organized, and especially when I'm kind of putting away receipts or kind of saving on an app, I like to label them. And so, yes, you can use this column, but it's not required. So say this is my fourth receipt, so I put 4 down. You want to put down the store that you shopped for. The more precise the store, like if you go to multiple Goodwills and you want to see which one is more profitable over time for you, you would put different locations. So it will be Goodwill, New York City, but then another one will be Long Island, things like that. The item ID is the thing that's required. This is my fourth receipt, so I would use 401 as my first inventory number. And here's where some of these fields are optional. Brand, so we'll say Old Navy. I already defaulted a lot of these, so like this one is women's because I think many of us do sell mostly women's clothes, but I have men's, kids, and actually also other. So other, if you do like hard goods or anything like that. But if you want to add departments, let me know, and I'll figure out a video for that. You can select new tag or used because that can be important sometimes, maybe especially if you do like retail arbitrage. So category, description, color, location, really up to you how much detail you want to put there. Size. Size becomes really helpful when you have 10 pairs of American Eagle jeans. Yeah. That's pretty much how I ended up having an inventory system, having way too many American Eagle jeans. So these 3 columns are all related to how much you paid. So earlier I actually mixed up this formula. So as you can see that there's a formula here, but there's no longer a formula here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control-C and paste the formula above so it fixes itself. So while that's loading, I can tell you that the price is basically what's on the ticket tag for Goodwill. So it says $4.99, but I know a lot of times like there's a lot of different tax rates, and at least for Illinois, it's Chicago, it's like 10% for tax, and that can be kind of tedious to calculate per item basis if you decide to put down the price per item. So I typically do that. I figure out how much I paid per item, but you can also just find the average cost per receipt, really up to you. So then the sales tax is what you want to update with the kind of the most common one that you use. So for me, that's 10.25%. For you, might be 0 if you're in New Jersey. I don't know if anyone has a higher tax rate than me. Let me know if you do. So what's happening is that this tax is automatically calculating based on the price that you put down. And so the cost is basically just a sum formula. And there's no formula in there because I was doing something here wonky, but right now you have formulas down here. So all the rows that you haven't written yet, they all have formulas, or some of them. Some of the columns have formulas. So just be mindful that if it's a formula, you might want to figure out what it's for so you don't delete it by accident. So up here you can see your all-time inventory, kind of total. Your inventory you've ever spent was $68. The average price you paid was $4.85. The highest was $11. So that's pretty good. The way that this formula works is that it's a subtotal. So if you do use the filters, these will adjust accordingly and be the subtotal of what's below it. So you'll see that shift a little bit. So then we'll keep on going. So there's a lot of columns here. It's up to you which ones you want to use, and you can definitely hide columns if you're never going to use them. So for example, these 5 columns is basically where's the item listed on. I think a lot of you do cross list, so I thought this might be useful for you. And it's just a drop down yes or no. Maybe it'll help you find items when they sell and things like that. But back to these columns. So column R is to mark if you actually donate the item or not. I find that I donate a lot, those slip-ups. And so if you do donate it, you can mark it as that you have donated as yes. And you have to put down the donation year so it totals up in the correct year in the summary tab. If you don't put a year, that would be an issue because it probably won't get summarized anywhere. And then there's also a separate column if you kept the item for personal use. You know you've done that. How many items have you kept this week? Like 5? I kept a few. But yeah, if you mark it as yes, like for example, this one is yes, what will happen is that there's formulas in this status column that basically, it's a long formula, but basically if you mark that you donated it or you kept it, it'll say not available. And it also checks if you sold it, it's also not available. Okay, so these columns on the right are all automatic. So I wouldn't touch them too much. You don't have to enter anything there. But so you still have this item available, and it looks like you've had it for 87 days. But these items you sold, and that's basically pulling the information using the item ID to tell you that you sold it on January 1st. Your ROI was 3.6, and you made a profit of 20 bucks. So congrats. And up top, you can actually see a running track of kind of your average profit, your lowest profit, your highest profit, and also ROI. So ROI is return on investment, and what it's looking at is your profit divided by your cost. So how many times did you flip that item? So for the first one, you bought the item for $2.19, and your profit was $9.81. So you probably sold it for what, $12? I think so. But because you made $9.81 divided by $2.19, you got $9.81 kind of profit. $2.19 was your investment. So return on investment is 4.5%. 4.5. Yeah, so that summarizes the inventory sheet. There's a couple of sheets, kind of additional instructions here. Oh yeah, when you buy something in another state, you will want to kind of make sure that the tax is calculated correctly. So this is when you can overwrite a formula. So for example, maybe you bought this in another town and there was only 5% tax. So what you would do is you would want to delete this and put 0.05 for 5%, or you can also put 5%. Excel and Google Sheets are pretty smart about that. So yeah, that's pretty much the inventory sheet. So next we'll go on to a different tab.